What's going on, guys? Asian Guy here, bringing you the 2019 tier list for the captain units. Now, this tier list, if you have seen the stipulations list in the past, feel free to skip ahead, but if you haven't, please do stick around for a short while I explain how my tier lists do work if you've never seen a tier list video of mine before. So this one is going to be purely for the captains, not captain abilities, but captains. How good are these units, or how good are these legends as a captain for their team? And what we really need to do, which is super important, is to always separate how good a legend is as a sub, how good a legend is as a captain, rather than combine them and then try and rank them against each other, because some legends are really good as both captains and subs, whereas some legends are just really good as subs, and many things are situational. There's no one dream team that can absolutely clear anything, but the best thing that we can do is put every single unit on an even playing field, and the way we do that is make sure that when we try and judge these characters, we have to be as objective as possible. I know it's not possible to be completely objective. Everything is always going to be subjective with these kind of things, but it's very important to try and put everyone at max potential. For example, Bartone Cavendish, a very good rare recruit for them is limited rare recruit Kobe. Now, for a lot of different teams, unlike Driven, a lot of Driven units are very much paid to win units, or the limited rare recruit units, so they don't get to see the spotlight that much. So Bartone Cavendish, I would say, is a good example of an underrated unit, simply because they're not very free-to-play friendly, or in fact, they're not free-to-play friendly whatsoever. That kind of stuff, unfortunately, we're going to have to push that out of the window, because when we're looking at it from a hypothetical standpoint, you cannot be biased towards what's in your own box. You got to assume you have every single unit. If you had every single limit break done, for example, shooters, if every single shooter, most shooters do have barrier penetration limit break, we should be looking at shooters through that lens of, wow, if they can penetrate all barriers just like that, very simply, that is a very big improvement for shooter teams. But naturally, realistically speaking, we can't really put that into practice unless you're a like a Giga Max whale. That's just an example there. The other thing, number 2, this list is based off the Japanese version of OPTC. I think that's a given, and its current meta. There are multiple criteria that go into ranking each captain, such as speed, safety, subs, longevity, endgame clear rate, for example, guard missions, blitz battle, all these things that give out really chunky rewards but are very difficult. For example, the most difficult piece of content, I can say, by a landslide, which is the current guard mission that is out in Japan, gives out 30 gems, insane rewards, but it is so difficult and it is so absurdly paid to win. That is a good example of endgame clearing. Niche usage as well, so for example, Jack or Buggy. Leeching, now this is a little bit of a grey area that's up in the air now. Leeching for me is considered a minus, and this, I'm going to try and make it as clear as possible, define it clearly. Leeching is when one captain requires a better captain to partner up in order to clear a piece of content that they wouldn't be able to do as a double captain. Example being, this is an old example, but I'm sure it still stands true here. Time skip Luffy. Double time skip Luffy can't clear X or Y content, whereas time skip Luffy plus Luffy and Ace can clear content. Some people will say, oh, but time skip Luffy can clear this content if you use a legend Luffy and Ace friend captain. For me, that doesn't say anything good about time skip Luffy. It's just saying good things about Luffy and Ace, saying that Luffy and Ace were that good that they could carry the dead weight that was time skip Luffy. On the other hand, something like 6+ Judge, this is such an outdated example. 6+ Judge and G4 Snake Man, in fact even better, Legend Douglas Bullet plus Gear 4 Snake Man is a very good combination together. Neither of them is really dead weight. In some occasions, in fact many occasions, you want to have both of them as your captains because they synergize so well together. That is a fantastic example of something that's not leeching. So that would be bonus points. This tier list, of course, is solely my own opinion and should not be taken as fact. The purpose is to create enjoyable content. I know a lot of people like to throw around their opinions. That's what we're all here to do. We're all here to discuss, so please do discuss in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts and opinions as well. But naturally, of course, if you didn't read any of this and you just skipped ahead and you start typing, where's my favorite legend? Why is he not number 1? You're completely wrong. This legend is so good as a sub. I've had many comments like that in the past. I'm probably not going to address those comments in the comment section if I know that you have not even taken the time to understand where I'm trying to come from. But I'm not saying my opinion is correct. I would like to hear everyone's opinions naturally as well. So hopefully I see a lot of comments in the comment section. I'm counting on you guys. Let's get into the tier list. So, first things first, if you are new here, we do go by a lettering system. We have S tier, which is the pinnacle, the very best of the best. Then we have A tier, which is just below that, B, C, D. But we are only going to be covering S and A tier in this video. Otherwise, the video is just going to be way too long. And A tier, let me tell you, is an absolute fiesta. And I was not even able to fit every single unit I wanted to into A tier because there's so many legends in the game right now that are very good as captains. But S tier are the best of the best, the must-haves in my opinion. Number 1, in the first row, we've got Legend 6+ Buggy, who is getting buffed as well. With the incoming treasure map mode, he is going to be buffed and have a 2.25 times captain, which is nothing major, but it's very nice. Buggy, in my opinion, is a must-have legend. If you have him, you're literally going to be using him every single day. One of the most used, if not the most used legend by every single player in the game. We've got Legend, Luffy, and Law. What can I say? Goes past barriers, 4.5 times universal attack boost as a dual unit, 2 times attack boost in himself on a switch, guarantees themselves an orb. Very nice. What I will say is the drawback from Luffy and Law is their special does not necessarily give their team the orbs that they need. They have a little bit of color affinity. It's not amazing, but very good kits. Tanky has inherent recovery, which is very nice. Universal, which is absolutely huge, can use basically any sub in the game other than the subs that require you to have X or Y captain or X or Y color as a captain or X or Y class, etc. But I think everyone knows how strong, how busted these units are. They're safe. They do a crap ton of damage. It's Luffy. He has all the good supports. Law has Corazon as well, which is a fantastic thing. Support units are superb in the game right now. Rayleigh, Corazon, superb support units to put on a Luffy Law team. I believe Global also got a very powerful Sengoku for Luffy and Law. But what I am going to say is their one drawback is that they do not manipulate orbs on their team, and also they're an orb booster rather than an attack booster. I do think I said attack booster just a moment ago by mistake, but they are an orb booster, and that, in my opinion, is a drawback because we need more attack boosters. Moving on though, if I had to rank every single legend from 1 to however many legends there are in the game, like 94, number 1 would without a doubt have to be 6+ Douglas Bullet. This guy has a color affinity advantage over any color in the game, which is absolutely superb. That means you could take anyone on his team because he doesn't penalize you necessarily. Of course, you do want other units that are boosted by him, but he will give himself a 4.75 times attack boost, which is then doubled because he has type advantage against everyone, which is absurd. Not to mention his disgusting special, his disgusting base stats, his limit breaks are superb as well. And just overall, this unit, even normal attack damage, which is supposedly meant to be a counter for units like him or V2 Dofi, the captain ability is just so absurdly strong. 4.75 times for both of these Douglas Bullets. What can I say? And if that wasn't enough, he boosts a bunch of great classes, a bunch of great types, colors, at 4 times. And he has beneficial orbs, and he's tanky. The list just goes on and on and on and on. It's so superb. He's super safe. Only downside is that he is a tiny bit slow if you plan to use his special. But as most Douglas Bullet owners will know by now, many pieces of content, you don't even need his special. He's just there as a beat stick. He's literally there as your captain, as a beat stick to give you tanky stats, and of course to have absurdly high attack stats, which are doubled against everyone. Color affinity boosters on him are superb. Legend Cracker on a Douglas Bullet team, bellissimo! Absolute bellissimo. You get the chain boost, you get the color affinity, which is essentially just giving him another type of attack boost guaranteed against anyone. And what more do you want than chain boost when the multipliers for a captain and also the rest of your units are different? You want your hardest hitting units to go last, and it's just perfect synergy. If you have Douglas Bullet, if you have Legend Cracker, congratulations, you have one of the most disgusting combos in the game. Alternatively, if you don't have Legend Cracker but you did pull for Marineford, or not necessarily Marineford, but Blitz Battle Aokiji, the int version, he is a superb unit to have on a 6+ Douglas Bullet team. He has so many subs, and unlike, for example, Lucy or other legends, he has no drawbacks from bringing maybe 1 or 2 random units that are not boosted by him. It's absolutely a-okay. He's got very powerful units as subs as well. Really, in my opinion, no major drawbacks. Other than the fact that his special might not necessarily go through barriers or normal attack damage, he does have barrier penetration with his special HP cut, but the end of turn damage, of course, will not penetrate barriers. What is most important, though, is the color affinity. Having that advantage over anyone is insane, and it's a disgusting boost at that as well. The highest in the game, 4.75 times. Next up, we have got S2. Now, this one is probably going to cause some more controversy. I know S2 and S3 is really going to piss some people off, and S4 as well, probably going to upset a lot of people as well. We have got Stampede Luffy. Mr. removed 10 turns of despair and paralysis. Some of the most notorious, most infuriating debuffs in the game. 10 turns, 20 turns if you're running double, but a lot of people do like to pair him up with, for example, Snake Man or someone else. But I gotta say, he's a special unit. That inherent debuff removal is filthy. You can't get much better than that. It's very good. The good thing about dual units a lot of the time, for example, Sabo and Koala, Luffy and Ace, Neko and Inu, they remove debuffs like that on themselves. They remove Despair, Neko and Inu removes Paralysis for 1 turn on crew, but if you have that permanently 20 turns, boy, that is a lot. His one major drawback is his special boost himself only. It is a huge boost. It is an absolutely huge boost, which is usually more than enough if you give it with another chain boost or a color affinity boost on top of that as well. Can do more than enough damage to int units, and of course can do a lot of damage to many other types. And naturally, he has a 4 times attack boost for the rest of his crew. He has a 4.5 times for himself, very similar to 6+ Douglas Bullet, but for everyone else, a 4 times attack boost. I believe his colors, they're the same as Jinbei, but I do forget, I believe they are Strength, Dex, and Sight. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe those are his colors. Regardless, very good unit. The utility within his kit is superb. His special is very good for killing mini bosses, which is why a lot of people do like to pair him up with another legend as a friend captain. We have got Halloween Ace next to him, who also one of these newer units, newer legends that will remove debuffs up to 20 turns if you're running double versions of them. And he is a fighter and shooter character, which boosts attack by 2.5 times with his special with a flat 4 times attack boost as the captain ability. Very much disgusting indeed. I gotta say, very simple unit. Rewinds 10 turns of special, well, not rewinds, he will undo 10 turns of special rewind and 10 turns of special silence, which again is becoming more common, especially special silence is very common these days. But what is great about him is not only that, he's tanky, absolutely madness by the way, 1.5 times HP boost, very tanky. We really don't need that much HP in the game right now, but it might be useful in the future. But what is great about him is that 2.5 times attack boost, which is, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And then he has a 10 turn bind reduction as well. He's great. He's great. Fighters are great. Shooters, you know, he's more of a fighter captain right now, but shooters, they can have, if you have max potential, if you have everyone unlocked in your box, which most people don't have, he has a lot of potential to be a fantastic shooter captain. But right now, his predominant usage is for fighters. Of course, there is a mix of some shooters in there here and there, but of course, I gotta give my props. Fantastic artwork as well. Very good legend. I don't think anyone will have much qualms with him being in a top 10 position as a legend captain. The next one though, Sabo and Koala. In my opinion, absurdly underrated. And the reason they're underrated is because they do not have like a flat 4 times attack boost in their singular form, which is very much noticeable nowadays. It's very nice to have a flat 4 times attack boost. You literally just tap. You don't even have to hit perfects. Hit greats. You clap through content very much easily. But what I gotta say is, they're superb. Cerebrals, superb. Fighter units, not fighter units, sorry. Cerebral and Free Spirit units, both of them got a lot of love in 2019. Cerebral, unsurprisingly, they're just getting better and better. The year, of course, does belong to the powerhouse units, but what I gotta say, Cerebral and Free Spirit are the runners-up in how good some of the units that came out for them were. Just superb. They're just superb. They have fantastic subs. They have color affinity within their switch ability. Their switch ability is like Luffy and Ace. They don't unfortunately remove block calls, but 1.5 times color affinity, and they remove bind not bind, they remove despair and paralysis, which is superb. Anyone that can easily remove despair, in my opinion, without having to bring a sub, up there. And their attack boost goes up to 4.6 on the 6th hit, 4.5 on the 5th hit, when they're in a dual unit form. 4 times flat boost. I just don't understand why a lot of people don't like them. They give their team a 2.25 times attack boost. They are the only unit that can remove a certain debuff, which is a very frustrating debuff. What I will say is though that this debuff has not really appeared for a long time now. But they give their team a board of matching orbs, 2.25 times attack boost. They have the switch ability, which is color affinity. They remove despair completely, and free spirit and cerebral units. What more can you want? I honestly don't understand why these people or why these units are not rated higher, especially Sabo's so popular as well. Maybe it's Koala. I think Koala is quite popular as well. But for me, I find it mind-blowing. A lot of people don't have Sabo and Koala up there as one of the best legends in the game. Overall, I just think they're superb. Next up, we've got Sanji and Judge, who I also think are beginning to be looked at a little bit underrated. They have an absurdly good clear rate, both Sabo, Koala, and Sanji and Judge. Their switch abilities are superb. What I will say is that Sanji and Judge have a little bit more restrictive units that you can use sub-pool compared to Sabo and Koala, but what I think a lot of people miss out on with Sanji and Judge is that you don't necessarily have to cater to the side of Judge. You can just use Sanji and Judge as a pure powerhouse captain that goes up from 3.5 times to 4.25 in the dual form, because their dual captain is actually very strange. If you have every single color in your team, you get the HP boost, but as long as you have 6 powerhouse units in the team, you have the 3.5 times attack boost when they're in the Sanji and Judge form. That's a little bit strange because Sanji's side is that you will have the HP boost and you will also have the 3.5 times attack boost as long as you have 6 times powerhouse units, whereas the Judge side, you don't need 6 powerhouse units. As long as you have every single color, you're good to go as well, which I think it's a little bit strange. I do think they should just be able to boost powerhouse regardless, which is what you can do if you don't turn over to the Judge side during the switch. But other than that, all of these units that I've just mentioned now, other than Buggy, these 6 units I mentioned, all superb for Kizuna-Kesen, always coming in clutch. If you want a damage dealer, you can always rely on them. You want tons of damage these days. In a lot of the content, the HP is just getting higher and higher and higher again. A lot of annoying debuffs. These 6, absolutely superb. Sanji and Judge, again, removes paralysis, is the crew's special. What am I saying? I'm fluffing my words here. Attack and orb booster, and also chain booster. Tiny chain boost, but still very nice, and guarantees an orb on themselves, which is superb. Not to mention, they are powerhouse, the best class in the game. Zunisha ship, which makes perfects easier to hit. There's just so much going on for Sanji and Judge. The only thing that takes them back a teeny tiny bit is that if you do want to fulfill both sides and constantly be switching all the time, then you do have to have every single color on your team, but otherwise you don't need to have every single color on your team. I think they're superb. A lot of people don't think they're superb. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, because I really do think Sanji and Judge, I know on global they're still popping off, but on Japan, I do think they're a little bit underrated. Not to say that a lot of people will not say they're in S tier, but I don't think some people will have Sanji and Judge in their top 10 legends anymore, which I personally think is very baffling. But let me know what you think. Next up, we have got S3 with the man himself, a legend, Gear 4 Snake Man, Luffy, who has withstood the test of time, and I have for the life of me done around 14 takes for this sentence because I could not say withstood the test of time at my normal talking speed. You might have noticed I speak very fast normally, and when I try and say withstood the test of time, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. But Gear 4 Snake Man, even to this day, fast, reliable, he's got inherent cooldown, basically gives you your team a full board of orbs. He's a powerhouse unit, which is Zunisha, powerhouse teams, absolutely superb. He's a fighter teams right now, absolutely superb right now. And of course a rainbow captain if you don't want to opt for that. He can do everything and anything. He's got the Lucy version of the orb boost, he's got a chain boost, beneficial orbs, And if you run him as a captain, of course, you should be running him as a captain because he's superb. Not to say he's not bad as a sub because he is a superb sub as well. But if you do run him as a captain, he does go from a 3.25 boost to a 4 times to a 4.25 boost once you pop his specials. And his specials can be either used as a very low cooldown or as a slightly higher cooldown, which I would still say is relatively fast. He has 2-stage special, make him extremely versatile. Every piece of content, maybe not every single, but I would say 95, 96, 97% of content that comes out in Japan, there is always going to be a Snake Man team. Part of that is because everyone has Snake Man and it's very easy to make teams for him, but you can always find a reliable team with Snake Man. It might not necessarily be the fastest because sometimes just certain gimmicks really do get in the way of Snake Man and make life a little bit difficult, because there are subs in the game, as we all know, pay to win subs, or subs that are very much restrictive on how you can use them. An example would be one of his batch actually, or one of V2 Katakuri's batch, I forget his name, but one that looks like the clown, and he's a clown basically, white face paint, he's strength type, but he requires you to have a strength or Psy captain. Units like that, for example, which do have some restrictions on your team, mean certain other legends do have dedicated subs to them. Luffy, Snake Man, any rainbow sub counts as a dedicated sub to him, which is why he's so good. And then he has a great attack boost as a captain, orb boost, chain boost, basically orb manipulation with the beneficial orbs. He has so much in his kit, so much going for him. Tanky as well. What more do you want? Pinch healing. There you go. You have it all there. Next up, we've got the Speed King Kaido. Now, Kaido, a lot of people when he came out, and a lot of people still right now do claim he is the best legend in the game. What I will say is for niche content, for example, guard missions, he's your go-to guy. For speed running content, which is a little bit easier than the very hardest content in the game, he is your guy. What I will say though is he does struggle against content which have lots of big HP pools, barriers, normal attack damage only. He's not really the guy you go to because you can't really stall. Now that is a problem, even though he has inherent cooldown. Realistically speaking, on a 5-stage event or a 7-stage event, you're realistically only going to be able to get around cooldowns which are 13 at a push, maybe 14. But realistically, you want to be looking at 11, 12 turn cooldowns, which does restrict his units that you can use on him. And this is considering with a ship that reduces your cooldown. He has 4 turns of cooldown reduction if you're using double Kaido. And then you have more cooldown from your sockets as well. But he's basically going to one-shot every single stage unless there's a barrier there, which is the little bit of his drawback, which makes it a bit difficult for him to do the hardest content in the game. But speed-wise, he's there. He's tanky. He's got 4 times attack boost. Powerhouse striker. Very powerful units are available on there. And of course, if you want to pair him up with a zombie captain like Brook or Shirahoshi or any of those cheese captains, that's what I was doing on stream for the guard missions, pairing this Kaido up or friend Kaidos up with Shirahoshi. Absolutely annihilating guard missions. Just one Kaido. Double Kaido would have been even worse, more filthy. Gotta say, fantastic unit. I wish I had him, but I do think he is a tad bit overrated, especially when people say he's like the best legend in the game. Next up, we have got Quick Whitebeard, which came to Global first to, let's say, an underwhelming reception somewhat, because he was guaranteed. A lot of people do have him. When he did come out, I did say you should pull him. He goes all the way up to a 4.5 times attack boost at 1 HP. I also think Quick Whitebeard, extremely underrated. When he came to Japan, a lot of people were underwhelmed. They were not surprised. They were not hyped. I mean, we've all seen his capabilities. We don't have all his subs on Japan. But I've got to say, again, Powerhouse, Striker, very powerful classes here. Powerhouse is such a good class right now. So many different captains you can use. I know a lot of people, including myself, don't like to play with low HP captains. But if you manage it properly, if you're not a lazy plebby player like me, which I unfortunately am, if you're able to manage it, you basically have a captain that will always have 4 times, 4.25, 4.5 times attack boost, which is absurd. And his special does so many things for the team. And I just think very, very underrated. Despair reduction, I believe it's 20 turns. God forbid we have content which has 40 turn despair reduction. He also has the attack boost and he has the chain boost. any unit that has all of that. And I think he has 400,000 fixed damage as well, which is, you know, it's nothing too special. But I think he just leaves me a little bit speechless again, how much he's underrated. But I can understand at the same time, didn't have the hype when he came out, didn't really come out with a batch or anything, so nothing too special there. But that is going to be S3, guys. I do think S2 and S3 really are interchangeable. I would not be surprised if people had Snake Man higher up. I would not be surprised if people had Kaido higher up. And Whitebeard, again, I would not be surprised if people had him lower down as well, or maybe even higher up. But S2 and S3, I think that is where the crux of most people will have the debate is. But what I will say is all of those units, I would say 80% of those that I've gone over so far from S1 to S3, 80% of those would be in everyone's top 10. So we have 10 units in there, including Buggy. Excluding Buggy, I would say 7 out of 9 units of those there would be in everyone's top 10. Let me know what you think. Let's move on to S4. So S4, we begin with the Fallen Queen legend Carrot. I did consider her the best legend in the game on her release, and for a long time she dominated content. Her release was up there, I would say, with the likes of the release of Lucy. Game-breakingly good. That's how busted she was. I do think she is still one of the speedrunning queens. Compared to Kaido, she does the complete opposite and goes through barriers, whereas Kaido basically obliterates anyone without barriers. Now, Carrot unfortunately cannot really keep up with the damage required to deal with the hardest content in the game. Let's be real, that's her real downfall. And the fact that she is an orb booster again is a tiny bit of a drawback. I do prefer tap boosters. I do think they're more abundant. A lot of units that are boosted by Carrot are just orb boosters, and there aren't many attack boosters dedicated specifically for a Carrot team. You aren't going to be looking at universal tap boosters, for example, Stussy or Raid Rayleigh. And what I got to say with someone like Stussy is that Stussy only really offers you an attack boost. You want a unit that has an attack boost or manipulation like Raid Rayleigh. But the drawback with Raid Rayleigh, for example, is that his attack boost is only 1.75 times, and his orb boost, or his orb manipulation, sorry, does nothing for block orbs. So a little bit of a tedious unit to team build around, but once you got a team going, she's very good. Even in Kizuna Kessen, whenever you have the annoying barriers, she's your go-to. Friend Captain, superb. Pair her up with someone like Luffy and Law, you got a fantastic combination. But I do gotta say, she's a bit restrictive on her subs. Her sub pool is not that diverse, but I would really like to see her, you know, come back in the ranks again. They have, with the addition of Raid Sulong Carrot, decreased the HP pool of enemy bosses once again. The mini boss did have 5 million HP, thank you very much, but the actual boss, I believe, had around 7 million HP, which is very much doable for Carrot. And I gotta say, I have hope. I have hope that they're going to stray away from the path of 25 million HP bosses and 20 million HP bosses, and hopefully tone it down so even Legend Carrot can start being competitive again. But naturally, she can't do any of the very end game content like guard missions, just simply impossible for her. So that is a bit of a drawback for her, but you really wouldn't be using Legend Carrot for situations like that. Next up, we have got the best 6+ int unit, the best 6+ in the game, Legend Buggy. I've just realized that Legend Buggy is also 6+ int, and he's also probably the best 6+. No, he's not really the best 6+ in the game. But Legend Katakuri 6+ Super Evolution is, in my opinion, the best Super Evolution any unit has gotten. Up to a 3.85 times attack boost, if I'm not mistaken. And his special is now absurdly good. What he will do is essentially guarantee that his captain ability will activate and guarantee a delay onto anybody, because he will have tap timing damage, which will easily allow you to hit 2 million threshold, which will delay anybody. And then if you hit your perfects, which you should be able to do, you can use Zunisha on him. He is also a powerhouse striker unit now, which is superb, meaning you can use a Legend Cracker. The two brothers going together, very fantastic combination. But what I will say is that after you hit your perfects, you are guaranteed to get a delay boost. So you are getting a 2 times conditional, but technically unconditional attack boost against any enemy you want, which is superb. He's got a lot of tankiness with his 20% damage reduction. And I would say the classes he boosts now are just great, because Powerhouse Striker is a very common class. The one downside is now he can't boost Powerhouse Fighter, which is also the other major Powerhouse typing. But Powerhouse Slasher, Powerhouse Strikers, all good to go. on this 6+ Katakuri. He's superb now. I absolutely love him. His orb manipulation is superb as well. What he doesn't have now though is the cooldown reduction in his kit, which I would, you know, it would be nice if he had that, but not the biggest loss. We have got the lowest duel units on this segment. There are more duel units further down, but we have got Luffy and Ace and Bartone and Cavendish. Now, in my opinion, again, both of these units, both of these legends, very, very, very underrated. I can understand why, because their base multipliers, like Sabo and Koala, it's just not really that high. 3.5 times for Luffy and Ace, if you have a matching orb with the Ace side, is not that superb. Let's be real, that's nothing too special. And it goes down to a 2.25 times, which is miserable if you don't have the matching orb. And it's only 3 times in the Luffy form. What I will say though is they're tanky. Their pinch healing is superb. Free Spirit is absolutely superb. They are the attack booster for their team. They are the orb manipulator for their team as well. And when they do have the matching orbs, which they will do because Free Spirit have really good orb beneficial users, Luffy and Ace is the orb manipulator themselves, essentially guaranteeing when you pop their special, you have a 4.25 times attack boost for Free Spirit units, which is still really, really good. Bartone Cavendish on the flip side, and before I forget, the switch ability of Luffy and Ace, still superb. Completely removes despair, completely removes paralysis on themselves, guarantees an orb, goes past block orbs, and gets rid of slot bind as well. Again, anybody that can deal with despair without having to use a special, fantastic. That is so, so, so good utility because of how much despair we have today. Even in pools, you want to have despair resistance. That was a terrible joke. But let's move on to Bartone and Cavendish. These are the stalling gods. They are better than Whitebeard and Marco at stalling, and I will die on this hill. Only marginally better because Marco and Whitebeard are at the top of the A tier. But Bartone and Cavendish, I've got to say, driven units, they did see some love this year. What I will say is though, these driven units, they're very much hard to come by. A lot of people don't really like driven units, and driven units, there's still a lot of targeted debuffs at specifically V2 Dofi, which has now had a trickle down effect on everybody else. But these guys, they're like unkillable. They are the crew's attack booster, they're the crew's damage reducer. They can stall for so many turns, 1.5 times attack boost, I believe, when they switch to themselves, which is very nice. And then of course the healing, the damage reduction from the switch, orb manipulation from the switch. Beautiful. It's beautiful. 2.25 times attack boost when you pop their special, which is very, very good. And of course, they go up to a 4.25 times attack boost, which again is absolutely superb. So the only downfall is that they're driven. That is the one big downfall. Driven, I would say, is the weakest class. But when I say weakest class, it doesn't mean they're trash. They're just not as powerful as certain other classes like Powerhouse, which is absolutely busted right now. But driven, if you have the best units, if you have all the units in the game, limited rare recruits included, you have all the support units fully maxed out, I do think Bartone and Cavendish are fantastic, fantastic subs. They just don't see that much play because no one wants to invest into driven, and their cooldown is actually quite high. That is the one downfall. They are extremely safe legends to use, like Whitebeard and Marco, super, super safe, just a tiny bit slow. But unlike Whitebeard and Marco, their damage purely comes from having a lot of damage. 4.25 times captain ability, 2.25 times tap boost, good orb booster, good color affinity boosters. Whereas Whitebeard and Marco, you've got HP cut special. You know, that's not that reliable nowadays. That is the S tier. Let me know what you guys think. I want you guys to leave a comment. I want you guys to leave a comment and then revisit that comment and edit it once you see the A tier. But what do you think of the S tier? Now that you've made it this far into the video, what do you make of the S tier? What do you agree with and what don't you agree with? And what would you want to see in A1 and A2 as a result of what you've seen in the S tier? That is what I'm challenging you guys to do. Leave a comment right now. Pause the video, leave a comment, and then come back to it when you finish the video. Edit the comment with your final thoughts. So let's move on to A tier. So we finally make it to A tier. If you have stuck around this far into the video, thank you very much. A tier I found very difficult. There's just so many fantastic legends as a captain in the game right now for different circumstances, different situations. It really could all of these be interchangeable, especially A1 and A2 into S tier. So please do keep that in mind. Everyone in A1, everyone in A2 could really be bumped up, really depending on the content, but I do feel many of these have fallen off, or they're just not as good, to be honest, as some of the other legends in the S tier. That's how I feel about them. But let's look at A4 and A3. We'll breeze over them very quickly. Ace, 3.75 times attack boost, 1.5 times shooter captain. Not bad, nothing special, pretty solid. He is also an attack booster for his crew, so not bad, but no orb manipulation, no beneficial orbs, anything like that. Big drawback. Halloween Ace, just a superior version. We've got Blackbeard, still able to bypass barriers. People forget his HP cut does go through barriers when he's captain, which is superb. 3.25 times attack boost, making him a little bit more viable, but 3.25 times, as we know, is not like the 4.25 times we're seeing from other legends today. We've got Brook, very good at cheesing stuff. He was really high up when Kizuna Kessen debuted, but they nerfed him into the ground basically, and he's not as relevant anymore. You don't see him that much. Still good at cheesing content. Frankie, Captain Switch is useful. Unfortunately, it's not very useful for trying to block people that blow you away preemptively, because it expires after one turn, which I think is absolutely stupid. It should be more like Legend Capone, where you can rely on that to not have your units blown away. He also doesn't have very reliable orb manipulation. His attack boost is nothing great in the base form, and his attack boost, even in captain action, you know, it's very much dependent on which classes you have on your team. We've got Zephyr, who I believe is a 3.9 times attack boost, but his special is not great. It's tap time and damage with a HP cut. If they have a barrier, kind of fucked. He does have orb manipulation, which is superb, but what I gotta say is that it's just not enough damage in his kit. And shooters, again, quite a weak class. If you do have them max potential, they can bypass barriers, which is nice, but the HP not being able to go through barriers is a very big drawback. Big Mom, 6+ Big Mom. Now, I was thinking of putting her a little bit higher, because for certain pieces of content, she is absolutely wonderful. Dex content, she is one of the go-tos, if not one of the best legends, or the best legend, other than Douglas Bullet, to use for any Dex content. But other than that, she's a little bit tedious, in fact, very tedious to play with. When she first came out, everyone was like, woo, hype. Very hype. She has a lot of attack boost, but her mechanic is actually very tedious to play with, which slows her down a lot, makes stalling a little bit more complicated, but she does have subs and ships which cater to that, but it would be nice if you didn't have to dedicate your ship to that, or your sub to that, and you could use other things. So a little bit inflexible is how I would describe her. Gear 4 Tank Man. It's been a year now? No, almost 2 years since Gear 4 Tank Man came out. Again, a little bit like Big Mom, tedious to play with, tedious mechanic, is a universal booster, universal attack booster, which is superb, but I just don't think anywhere near as good as Snake Man. It's only a 1-turn attack boost. A little bit more inflexible, I believe Fighter Free Spirit. Not the best combination in the game. Powerhouse is far superior to have with the Powerhouse Fighter. The subs dedicated to Powerhouse Captains are superb, and obviously Luffy can't use them. He can use Free Spirit units, but you know, I think you guys understand where I'm coming from with this. Not the ideal situation. When you're ramping up, he doesn't have the best attack boost. You just want to have a higher attack boost, honestly. With this guy, 4 times attack boost when you pop his special is great. And he has damage reduction, but it's nowhere near as good as other people's damage reduction or damage, to be honest. And that's just a matter of Gear 4 Luffy. He's a tiny bit, I would say, outdated now. We've got 6+ Sanji to follow, who I put him here. I was thinking of putting him higher. He is actually very good in Kizuna Kessen for Sai bosses. When he's boosted, he's very reliable. He's very reliable, can get past despair, any kind of annoying debuffs like that target your captain, and his special is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not bad. That's pretty much all I have to say. 2.75 times universal boost is nothing too special, but he does give himself a lot of damage. So against Sai enemies, superb. Against everyone else, a little bit difficult. We've got Sai Sanji, V2 Sanji, crap ton of damage. Restrictive, very restrictive. You need to have 6 fighter units. If your HP gets lowered, the rate of matching orbs decreased. I think the rate of badly matching orbs increased. Something like that. I haven't played with V2 Sanji in a long time, but his damage is absurd. Average attack boost is something like 4.76, but that's all that he's got going for him right now. His ability, his special ability is an attack boost for his team, which is good. And then also utility in the form of chain reduction, which is not that useful nowadays right now. And he's very reliant on having chain boost. So again, very restrictive, not flexible at all. We've got V2 Aokiji and V2 Akainu. Both of these, again, a little bit outdated. Their attack boost doesn't really keep up with today's meta. Again, their teams are somewhat restrictive. But what I will say is that the one thing that I absolutely love, and you guys will hear this, always, if you have an attack boosting or an orb boosting special, if you compare that up with orb manipulation that deals with block orbs, that is a 10 out of 10 special. Both of these dudes have 10 out of 10 specials. Their captain abilities are just unfortunately a little bit outdated. As we all know, V2 Akainu, 3.25 times attack boost. You need to hit your perfects. It's very tedious to play with and very, very inflexible. That's what I've got to say. V2 Big Mom, again, the common trait here, a little bit inflexible. She does go up to 4 times attack boost. Her switch isn't anything special. It's a self boost. And she does require you to have every single color on your team. She has end of turn healing, which is nice, but you know, I don't think it's that necessary whenever you want to use V2 Big Mom. V2 Big Mom, great against side content. Everything else, very difficult because you can't really put, or you can't shift a lot of weight onto one certain color on a V2 Big Mom team. So if you want to go against Dex content, you want to have as many strength units as possible. But with V2 Big Mom, you're restricting yourself to certain colors. And you do get penalized if you don't have them, unlike Sanji and Judge, where if you leave it on Sanji, all the powerhouse units will still get the boost. We're moving up to A2 and A1, which I think all of these units could potentially be in S4. But, you know, for the lack of space. And also, I do want to try and break down the bottom half of S and the top half of A a tiny bit. I would separate it into this order. So we have got V2 Sabo, who did get a limit break key buff. But I gotta say, there is a debuff in the game that I believe specifically counters his ramp up damage. It's also the same for V2 Katakuri. Any sort of ramping up special or ramping up captain ability, Kuzan will suffer from this as well. 6+ Kuzan, who I would actually put in A tier now because he does go up to a 4 times attack boost with his new limit break. But this Sabo, that debuff sucks for him. But anything else, if you can't kill the mini boss, you're gonna get punished. He is an orb boost and chain booster. Very big orb boost, very big chain boost. But no orb manipulation, no beneficial orbs in his special ability. And I think that's a little bit sucky. And you don't really want an orb booster. You want the attack booster. If he was an attack booster with the chain boost, or chain lock I should say, that would be even better. That would put him in A1 or S4. But because he's an orb booster, there's so many free spirit fighter shooter units that orb boost that are good for his team. I just think his subs are a little bit lacking and his attack boost a tiny bit tedious to play with. His captain ability is attack boost, but when you get up there, it's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. We've got V2 Jinbei, who I personally don't rate, but he's tanky. I mean, V2 Sabo's tanky as well, or V3 Sabo, or Dex Sabo, whatever you want to call him. Tanky. Jinbei is tanky. He doesn't have orb manipulation. He has a HP cut. He has an attack boost for his team. And I believe a lot of people like to pair him up with Stampede Luffy. And it does work both ways. But he's got an attack boost. I'm not sure about V2 or V2 Jinbei in A2. He's a strange one. But he does have tanky stats. He is in a good attack boost. Goes up to 2.25 times. And his captain ability 4 times attack boost if you have the right orbs. It's a very strange unit, but I gotta say, underwhelming, partially because it's Jinbei, but I do think he is a good captain. We've got V2 Mihawk, who I think has a lot of potential, but I also think it's nice if you pair him up with V2 Zoro. Double V2 Mihawk has an absurd amount of damage, just like V2 Sanji. 4.76 times or 4.78 times multiplier on average. Very, very nice. His specials are a lot better than V2 Sanji's, but again, very restrictive, not tanky whatsoever. If you mess up your perfects, you're kind of screwed big time. If you mess up 2 perfects, you're very much screwed. And I don't like captains like that. I think they're tedious to play with. And I also think slashers are one of the weaker classes right now, to be honest, which is a little bit unfortunate. We've got V2 Zoro there. And for the same reason, I do think slashers, just in general, the pool of subs that slashers have for V2 Zoro, V2 Mihawk, those two synergize so well together, but their pool of subs is just not that great. V2 Zoro, though, I feel like has the potential. He's extremely tanky. He goes up to a 4.0125, I believe, or 4.125 times attack boost with the correct orbs. I think those orbs are not too difficult to obtain when you really need to obtain them using the specials. He has a lot of potential. I would like to see more people use V2 Zoro teams, but I can understand because the sub pool is just not that fantastic right now. We've got Legend Cracker now. Legend Cracker can be tanky, but he is purely a powerhouse attack booster, coming in at 3.75 times. His special superb, orb manipulation, chain boost, color affinity. He's got such a good special. His captain ability boosts the strongest class in the game. He just got to be up here in A tier, somewhere in A2 or A3. Probably not A1 because he's not necessarily tanky. It depends on the secondary class of those powerhouse units, and he can of course only boost powerhouse units. We move up to A1. All of these units could be in S4, maybe some even in S3 depending on your preference. We have the Fallen Kings, what I would call extremely Fallen Kings, V2 Katakuri, and also Whitebeard and Marco. Both of these have very similar playstyles. You stalled for a long time, and then you have a fuck ton of damage courtesy of these specials. But again, normal attack damage buffs, barriers really do F these guys over. And of course, Katakuri there's this new buff that I believe was first introduced with Kizuna Kesenboa, where she completely clears any ramp up damage or any stored damage potential, which sucks. I think it sucks. And the teams, again, a little bit restrictive. Sign in only is nice. 4.5 times attack boost if you can get them, or is it 4.25 times? Either way, absurd attack boost, 3 times universal. They are universal lead, Whitebeard and Marco, which is superb. But again, I don't think that their special is very good anymore. You need to switch your captains first of all to get the beneficial orb effect. For me, orbs, sign in units. There are good units here and there, but not necessarily dedicated to Whitebeard and Marco. They are powerhouse captains, which is nice as well. But just the fact that they can't manipulate block orbs, they have a HP cut, which is reliant on the enemy not having normal attack damage debuff, which is very common. That will screw them over big time. Barriers, big problem. And they're just extremely slow. They're just really slow. Their playstyle is just too slow. Very safe, but very slow. V2 Katakuri, I wouldn't say it's necessarily very safe, but very slow as well. If you want to get the maximum damage out of his special. He is good again in int content. He's superb against int content. Everything else, if they don't have barriers, if they don't have normal attack damage, he's your go-to man. He'll literally clear it, no problems. But his subs, no problem again. You just want to use his special. His special will do all the work for you. Very powerful special, 10 out of 10. But the game is what it is now. Normal attack damage, debuff. You see it everywhere now. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. Legend Capone. Again, as I said, if shooters max potential, Legend Capone is superb. Going through barriers is superb. Big Father is superb. Very high cooldown, so I do believe his limit break key reduces cooldown. But his subs also have very high cooldowns, which is unfortunate. For example, Chiffon has a very high cooldown, and the limit break doesn't make it that much better either. But Capone, Big Father is so good. The fact that he can't be blown away, it's like giving you a guaranteed survival on death as well. In my opinion, very underrated Legend Capone. It's just that shooters are, you know, nobody wants to invest again. Just like Driven, nobody wants to invest in those units too heavily right now because there are just plenty of other better units or better teams to use. We've got Komunasaki to follow up. Quick and int booster of 4 times attack boost, and she is the crew's orb manipulator, attack booster, and orb booster. That, in my opinion, is superb. She does only boost quick and int, which is why I can't put her in S tier. I don't think she boosts enough different. She's not versatile enough, but the fact that she functions as a superb captain for her team. Also, the coin boost is just minor, but the coin boost aside, the fact that she is the orb booster and the attack booster, and they're both 2 times boost. Superb orb manipulator as well. excellent, excellent special. We've got Neko and Inu. Very underwhelming captain. Their switch ability is somewhat underwhelming. Guarantees themselves an orb, but not against block orbs. Gets rid of despair, which is nice. Actually, in fact, they don't even guarantee themselves an orb. They get rid of paralysis, but they don't even guarantee themselves an orb, which is that is atrocious. That is tragic for a dual unit. That just makes me very, very sad. They do get rid of despair, but their attack boost is not great. Their attack boost is not great. Even as a dual captain, their attack boost is it's weird. It's a ramp up attack boost based on your tap timing. And it doesn't even go up to like 4.25 or 4.5. It's nothing that fabulous. Their special though does a lot. Their special has an attack boost, an orb boost, and color affinity. It is one of those, just like Lucy or Snake Man, you hit your perfects and you only need 2 perfects. And remember, you have the Zunisha ship as well for cerebrals or strikers, which is superb. And you should be able to hit your perfects. If you hit your perfects, you're good to go. But what I will say, questionable captain. I'm not the biggest fan of Neko and Inu. If they had the matching orb in their switch ability, that would make them a lot better. And Whitebeard and Marco, we've talked about. I try to keep A side as short as possible. I think most people understand that A tier 1 and 2s can easily be S tier. And then I would safely say no one in A3, no one in A4 would make it into S tier. They were not even remotely close to S tier. But there you have it, guys. That is the tier list. I try to keep as concise as possible. I know, thinking back on it right now, listening back on it myself right now, just trying to think back at what I said, I may have fluffed up here and there. I know my energy kind of dipped towards the end, so I do apologize. And most of all, I know it's not my best commentary of all time. It's a long video, guys. I've been speaking for almost an hour, 1.5 hours straight, because I've done numerous cuts. Hope you understand, guys, but thank you so much for watching. If you watched till the very end, please do. Now let me know if you watched the midpoint in the video. I asked you to leave a comment earlier. Please do leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts and opinion. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Even if it's a minimal change, what would you make? And remember, guys, this is Captains. It's here for discussion. It's all fun and games. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hashtag Dunkabandai so that you can have every single legend on this page. Remember to hashtag Dunkabandai. With a Bellissimo, my voice is fading, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.